We're at Yankees camp. I know we talk about size all the time, but you got to mention it here where we feel small. Or at least I feel small.
You feel small.
What about you?
I'm 6'4", 250, bro, so I don't know.
Yeah, but stand next to Giancarlo Stanton, saying, hey, to Judge, this team is big, but they're well aware that this division is really good, and they've made some moves, but it's up for grabs, and they're well aware of that.
Yeah, this division is stacked. I think the biggest thing is going to be the back end of their rotation. I love the acquisition of Donaldson. I think when you look at bringing back Rizzo, Gallo getting a fresh start as opposed to being traded, I think it's going to help this team sort of, come together, score a lot of runs, allow the pitchers to go out there and be not complacent, but just be a little bit more comfortable, not trying to be perfect, and it'll help them. But I think if you have any question, it is the back end of the rotation. We'll see what happens throughout this tough AL East season.
You mentioned Donaldson, and even though this is someone who has to stay on the field and stay healthy, if he does, he's got the swag, got the edge.
Yeah.
Guys have been telling us about that, so let's start with him.
Hey, we're going to start this off nice and easy.
Nice and easy.
The city ready for you, or you ready for the city?
We're going to find out. I think I'm ready.
You ready? I
think I'm ready.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you been ready for pinstripes for a long time? Like, was this a valued destination to hit during your career?
I've never really thought as teams per se. I grew up in the South, watched a lot of Atlanta Braves. Obviously, New York Yankees are always on too.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a pristine organization, a lot of history here. One of my favorite guys as a youngster that I just would like to hear stories about was Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the guys who I've always admired, and so that's where I'm at.
When you look at you, where you're at right now in your career, I look at everything about your play, your perfection of your swing. Like, just talk about getting ready, and the one thing you work on in the off season to be ready for opening day.
I think it's just more mental in the off season. Just building that mental, getting. Obviously allowing some time to relax. Yeah. And then on top of that, getting the mind strong, ready to get going. The physical part of it and all that stuff is, it takes some time to kind of get used to that as well. But as long as mentally I feel good about the situation, it's going to be good.
Physically, is this the biggest team that you've ever been a part of? What?
I feel like I'm going and playing with the Monstars, I'm like, man.
I love that. I love that. Well, good luck this season. Have fun with the Monstars.
All right. Okay. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate you. Yeah, thank you.
Was the Bringer of Rain paying homage to the late Razor Ramon with the toothpick, Scott Hall? Maybe. Hey, you can't have Ray's royalty and Carlos Peña and not talk Tampa Bay and Wander Franco. We'll do that next.
Cliff, a lot of people want to be in this man's shoes for a day. So just nice and simple here. The average spring training day for Aaron Judge in terms of your schedule from wake up to end of the night, and maybe mix in some food for us too.
Wow. That's a long day.
It's a lot,
it's a lot. No, it's a lot. You're getting up at 7. I'm getting here about 8. Usually got meetings around 9:30. I don't eat breakfast. I like to kind of wait till lunch. Yeah. I got to work on that physique and spring training. Exactly.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Oh yeah, but then we got meetings. Come out here for BP, hit a little bit. Got the game, work out, some recovery stuff, hot tub, cold tub stretch, and we're out here by 3, 4 o'clock.
What does dinner look like?
Oh, either mama back home's cooking something, or I'll get on the grill, do something. So it all depends. But we keep it light.
My question for you is more like, when you think about had a great year, what's the one thing I always like to ask? What's the one thing you work on in the off season? That one thing you cater to make sure when camp opens up, you're ready to rock and roll.
For me, it's all about my body. Making sure my body's in the right position, make sure the flexibility's there, the strength's there. If I got good range of motion, I can move around, then I know my swing and everything's going to be fine-tuned and ready to go. Because for me, it's just about, trying to stay consistent at the plate. If I'm consistently feeling good, I know consistently my swing is going to be there.
Hey, let's finish with this. In the clubhouse, and it's crazy right now, right? Because you have guys getting to camp fast. There's transactions left and right. So, for example, a guy like Donaldson steps in and, he says, I'm a guy that can bring a little bit of an edge. I know it's only been a week or so, but what do you sense from someone like him that he can bring to this team to be something different?
Wow. I've had a chance to play against JD for a while now, and I saw him do his thing in Toronto, and it was scary when he walked to the plate, man. He had a little bit of swagger. Every time he came up, outfield coach is telling us, hey, take a couple steps back, but he's a guy that, he plays aggressive, he plays hard, he leaves it all out in the field. He supports his teammates. I've seen him in a couple brawls, man. He's the first one out of the dugout, running out there. So that's the type of guy you want to go to work with every day and fight for every day.
New York is going to love him, I think. They love you. Aaron, good to see you, man.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, appreciate you always.
Have a great year, babe. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Healthy Judge, a starting pitcher's nightmare. Well, maybe not for these guys because they're that good. We're going to figure out the top 10 starting pitchers right now are later on MLB Network. Los is going to name his when we come back.
We're back here with Angels second baseman, or should I say shortstop, David Fletcher. What's going down right now? Which position are you going to play come opening day?
I don't know. We haven't really figured it out yet. I'm ready to play both, so going in, it doesn't really matter much to me. I'm just ready to help the team win.
Now, you grew up a huge fan of David Eckstein, so it just makes sense to come full circle and play shortstop for the Angels, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely a guy I looked up to growing up, and try to kind of emulate him, the way he played the game, always played hard and hustled, and yeah, one of my favorite players growing up.
Fletch, we are in a time where everybody's throwing a million miles an hour. Guys are striking out. You don't strike out. So if I'm in an offseason, you and I are working out together, and I'm having a tough time because I'm a swing and miss guy, what in the heck? Is this something that you've been like this since you were 5 years old, or are we working on stuff?
I mean, I've always had good hand-eye coordination, and I think my swing's pretty short, so it kind of plays into it. But and when I get 2 strikes, my mentality is, I want to hit the ball hard, but I don't want to let that guy strike me out, and I take a lot of pride in that, and that's just, I think, just taking pride in it and having good hand-eye coordination.
One of my good friends is Buck Showalter. I love the guy. He's a manager of the Mets now. Before he took that job, he was on the set on MLB Tonight, and he said, if I could have any second baseman in the game play for me, it would be David Fletcher. He loves the way you play defensively. Obviously, he talked about you don't strike out. How much pride do you take in your defense?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big compliment, especially coming from a guy like Buck Showalter.
Right.
I've always been kind of defensive first mindset. Ever since I was growing up, it was always, that's what I worked the hardest at, and it's given me a lot of opportunities to, get more at-bats coming up. And but I've always taken a lot of pride in my defense and worked really hard at it.
Thanks, fellas. Hey, coming up in mere moments on the network, the Top 10 Right Now series continues with starting pitchers. All right, Carlos Peña, we know the usual suspects, the established workhorses or even recent Cy Young Award winners who are probably going to appear on it. Give me a name that you feel is going to be here next year.
Have to watch out for Carlos Rodon. Going over to San Francisco, an organization that knows how to maximize their players. Right information, yes, but the application of the information. You see that four-seam fastball? That plays in the big leagues. When he learns to use that and work his off-speed off of that pitch, it's going to be nearly unhittable.
And then you as a lefty, you see one of Los's, from one Los to another, his slider. That sounds...
Especially after that high heat, nasty breaker like that.
Hard pass?
Good luck to you.
Okay. Heels, let's end the show how we started it. One shot on Carlos Peña, just for the sake of everybody viewing. Coming up next, Top 10 Right Now starting pitchers with Brian Kenny and Ron Darling. But Dave Dombrowski and the Philadelphia Phillies been busy adding to the lineup around Realmuto, Harper, Hoskins, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, the 2 big signings. Schwarber introduced and talking to me about what was a special day. Not just signing a contract with the Phils, but he and his wife Paige welcoming their first child into the world.
I think that's probably the best day of my life, to be able to sign your deal and to go right to the hospital to see your kid being born, right? It's crazy just how you can fall in love with something so instantly, and it was definitely the best day or 48-hour span of my life. I've only won in my career, from where I've been in Chicago. When I was with Washington last year, but being traded over to Boston, being in the playoffs there too. I think I've only missed the playoffs one time, and it's an addicting feeling. And you want to keep pushing to that. And when you get that cherry on top, which is the World Series, you just strive for that every year. So this was definitely a place I was looking forward to be.
That's the truth, Kyle. Becoming a parent, Los knows you got 3, just had our first. So Cade Schwarber, welcome to the world. And welcome all the new additions to the Philadelphia Phillies, because it's not just Schwarber and Castellanos. A rebuilt bullpen, Carlos Peña, with Corey Knebel, Brad Hand, yours Familia as well. And you see some of the subtractions on the right side of your screen, and he talked about the postseason. And it's been a minute since Philadelphia's played October baseball, right? 2011. What's your confidence level in the club snapping that drought this year?
Well, you know, we saw them last year really get down to the nitty-gritty. They were fighting all the way to the end. So most definitely they're poised to repeat and get all the way to the postseason right where they need to be, right? Because this team has the tools necessary to succeed.
Well, they got if you're talking about a bat, they got a bunch of those.
So I know pitching has always been one of those questions. What with Hand and Knebel and, you know, Familia in there, it looks pretty good. But when you look at that potential lineup, I'm thinking to myself, these guys are going to score a lot of runs. Castellanos, Harper, Herrera.
Not a lot of easy outs there.
And let me tell you something about Schwarber. I really believe, Nelly, that Schwarber found something last season. I mean, I saw him get to the high fastball a lot more consistently than previously. You know, he used to do it.
He was struggling with it, yeah.
He really had a tough time. Then all of a sudden, he's getting big home runs up in the zone. I'm thinking to myself, his approach changed. So I expect him to have a huge year in this ballpark.
And the amount of gamer that they've added to the clubhouse with Schwarbs and Castellanos as well. I mean, those are competitors now. So that lineup's going to be tough. Now, the bullpen, again, the last 2 years have been suboptimal. And the defense is definitely a question mark. Might be some chaos baseball for the Philadelphia Phillies, but they're certainly going to be fun to watch hit the ball, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, you know, one thing to note is that the Mets got a lot stronger. You know,
that division.
You know, so the division is going to be more difficult, but I mean, these guys right here, look at the rotation. We're looking at Zach Wheeler.
It seems like they got good news, positive news on Wheeler being ready to start the season. That's huge. You want Nola to have a bounce-back year.
Expecting big things out of Nola.
Okay, all right. So, again, we'll see once the games begin for the Philadelphia Phillies. How about their spring training game today?